For my third pick and the fifth pick of the Sunday six pack, I really struggle with this, which one I wanted to go with third, with waiting on some injuries and quarterbacks. But I decided to go with the New York Football Giants plus 4.5 at home against the Cleveland Browns. And look, this is another game where I don't know who's necessarily playing at quarterback. I make this line around 3. You do have the Browns on a short week after a very emotional game going to New York. They're still in a good place postseason wise, but they could really use this game still. But you could see a slight hangover here. The Giants have generally been pretty good against the run, and they've pretty much been in every game this year outside of the San Fran game, which was just their clunker. Teams are going to have clunkers once you're. And last week they did too against Arizona, and they couldn't do anything. I mean, this is a team that had 53 yards, I believe, in the first half. But why did that happen? I mean, they had Daniel Jones in there on one foot, like one leg, and then he had a hurt hamstring going in, then he sprained his ankle. I mean, so much of what Daniel Jones can do out there is because of his mobility. It doesn't have the greatest offensive line, so he has to create some space in the pocket to throw, but also just using his legs to pick up first downs. They just kept him in. They shouldn't have had him in there. Are they going to have him in there this week? I don't know, to be honest. I'm assuming that they won't put him out there if he's not fully healthy.
So they're saying they, like, from the last news I read, they are saying that they are willing to accept, and this is from what the coach Joe Judge is saying. They're willing to accept Jones's limitations and will start him if he can get through the practice week.
Well, I don't love that. But that's basically what happened last week, is that Jones couldn't move. So you hope that if they do play him, he's either healthier or his ankle is better or his hamstring is better. He'll also be going up against the Cardinals defense is not great by any stretch. But the Browns defense right now is, I mean, it's bad, especially on the back end. They might be getting Ward back, which will help at corner, but how much does that really help against the Giants? Not much. I think that Evan Ingram could have a huge game. The Giants should be able to run it on Cleveland. I mean, this back end of the Cleveland defense, especially at safety and linebacker, is just absolutely atrocious. And you have to remember, when you're looking at their numbers, you have 3 horrifying win games in there. And so their defensive numbers should be much worse. And their offensive numbers, I mean, Baker Mayfield has played a little better than I thought over the past weeks. We know their offensive line is great. We know their running game is great. Their offensive numbers should be better too overall. Just to be fair. But this Giants team will fight. It's a great time to buy them low after that clunker last week. You hope you get better QB health, whether that's Jones can't go and you get McCoy in there. Remember, McCoy went to Seattle and won. He can still complete short passes against a bad defense, which is what the Browns are. And I think that the Giants can compete here with their run defense, which is really key against Cleveland. Mainly, these are all just reasons that I'm giving that I do like and believe in, but I make this line about 3. So I'm getting 4.5, 5 at home after the Giants had that clunker last week. So I'm willing to side with the home dog here, who, for all intents and purposes, is playing for their season, because they're at Baltimore next week after dropping that game last week and Washington won. This basically could make or break their season. So give me the Giants catching the Browns on a short week in New York.
Yeah, this was one I thought really hard about, because I actually have a projected edge around the same as you do. Really, the only thing that gave me pause was that Judge quote, because I talked about it in a piece I wrote about the NFC East last week. Like, the Giants are the game plan team. Like, they're going to outcoach most teams and come with a better game plan most weeks. And what happened last week? They got outcoached. There were defensive fronts that the Cards kind of showed them that they weren't expecting. And really, I think it really came through because Daniel Jones didn't have that mobility, and they didn't have that ability to kind of adjust on the fly to what the Cards were doing without that mobility. So yeah, it's something I think you have to monitor throughout the week. But from a pure projections perspective, I too see some value on this line. Just waiting to kind of see what's up with Daniel Jones.